this is Mike Byrnes with another episode of Business Bests. I'm excited to bring you some more information on client service. I think it's super important to make that a really important focus this year and beyond for your business. It should be something that is, yes, expected of you, but you should always be looking at ways to make it better every year because the world's evolving and your service model has to evolve too. So I'll dive right in with a tiered service model. If you have different types of clients, you should actually have a tiered service model. The ones that try to do all things for all people end up doing more for the clients that are less profitable, maybe because they like them or they care about them or it's kind of pro bono or whatever it might be. But you should think about it from a business standpoint. It doesn't mean you can't deliver excellent service to everybody, but someone that's less profitable should probably have more of a scalable service model than the one that is just you can't lose, right? That would really damage your business. They should get exceptional service times 10 if you can figure out what that would be. So with a tiered service model, one of the things you want to start to think about are who are the clients. So you need to do a dump of everybody. You should actually look at it from an individual standpoint. If you're working with private clients, look at the family, the dynamic. Personality A kind of dominates sometimes, and personality B. Make sure you're evaluating all of that. Make sure you're evaluating the next generation, whether it's G2 or even G3, or some cases G4, great grandkids. Look at how that you're servicing them. So do a dump of all of them. A real simple way to get started with a tiered service exercise is look at, one, how much revenue you get from them. Two, if you track this, how much time they take to service. Three, what services they get. And then try to look at all of that information and say, you know, these are the people that are the most profitable to me, and figure out, you can kind of reorder them because sometimes it's not one factor that would get them to bubble up into the top A clients. For example, if they give a lot of referrals, they might be here for profitability of the one single relationship, but as they give more referrals, they have, exponentially grown in their own profitability, right? If you kind of lump in all those introductions. So create that tiered service model, A, B, and C, at least start there, right? And so kind of lump in these names, do that initial exercise, and figure out if there's somebody that might leave if they are lumped into like a C or even like a D category. In this exercise, you might actually find out that there's some clients that you don't want to. You can either look at selling them off, giving them to someone junior within your organization, or you can just let them go, right? Maybe you just realize through this exercise you take too much time helping them and they actually are draining your resources, which is time and dollars, and they're actually costing you money rather than the other way around. I'll go off on a little tangent too. If you have a PITA, so yeah, I don't know if I could say this, but a pain in the ass client, identify them. I've had them in my past. You can actually try to work with them as long as you can, as long as you can tolerate it. Or you can just have a heart-to-heart and say, hey, such client, this isn't working the way it is. If things don't change, we're just going to have to end this relationship, and I'll try to find someone else that will be better for you. Or you could just say, hey, sorry, we don't want to work with you anymore. That's a little bit more drastic. But those, if you have those clients, they can be an energy suck on your whole business, right? They can create anxiety where it doesn't need to be there. They can have you answering messages at midnight, because they are so driven to have things, this very moment. They can be those people that question every single thing that comes out of your mouth. They're paying you for advice in some cases, right? So like, why can't they trust that? They could be someone that actually is a pain in the ass to the spouse or the people in their family, or publicly they're doing something, you just don't want to work with them, right? So figure out who those people are. I went off on a little tangent about PITAs, but there should be in this tiered service model an eye-opening moment to say, hey, there might be some people in our client base that we don't want. It might be that you want to go up market, upscale, whatever you want to call it, and you want to actually have fewer clients that are more profitable, and then your service model might be more intense. If that is a plan of yours, what does that look like? How do you get there? And so it takes some short-term and long-term planning. Know that before you do the tiered service model, right? Like if you can jump in to a tiered service model and you kind of start doing it for the 1-year outlook, but you're missing where you want to be in 3 to 5 years, you'll go off in a tangent that you don't want to follow, right? Or you're going to go down the path that you don't want to follow. So think about what that would look like. So a tiered service model, what services do you provide? How do they rate with all these clients? It's really interesting to know too. Like your top clients, you want to be making sure you're getting an A+ in every category if you can. So one, we'll go back to client research later on, but find out what services you provide. If you are trying to wow these A clients, you might want to look at, do they get more intense services? What does that look like? Do they have more interaction with people? Are they assigned a one-on-one relationship with a person as opposed to someone that might go into like a call center or a team type of approach? Are they all human interactions for your top clients? For your more scalable, less profitable clients, are they doing more online? Are they getting more education from stuff you push out to them electronically, etc.? I'll pause right now to say when you go through the client service model, you actually should go through your marketing and type of sales model too. So you're actually looking at what you're providing from that standpoint, because sometimes they overlap. I'll give you a real obvious one is email marketing. A lot of businesses just blast out the same email to everybody. If you have the cream of the crop clients and they're kind of getting the same, sorry, I don't want to say garbage, but they're getting that same generic thing that doesn't make them feel special, you're dropping the ball. So have some fun. I'm a consultant. I love a whiteboard, right? So you get this big thing and maybe you get some people that are brainstorming and you say, hey, you know what? We should touch these people 5 times. I always joke, like when you say you touch your clients, it sounds creepy, but you know what I mean. Like you're dripping on them, whether it's human interaction or electronic or whatever it might be. So what's the strategy to be in their lives, right? And be with them. I would say proactive phone calls are the ones, are you actually being proactive with your best clients? The more that you're in front of them, the more opportunities you have to get referrals. And again, this sales and marketing thing works really well with the client service model. So if you're actually servicing them more, you're in front of them more, guess what? You can get more referrals from them because those wealthier clients that are more profitable to you, they're actually interacting likely with other more profitable people too. So it's good that you can try to penetrate into those circles. So from sticking with the sales and marketing side, what does that look like from a tiered service model perspective? If you are doing a group event, you can make them feel like they're premier clients, right? Like this is exclusive, we're only inviting our 10 best clients. You have to be a little bit careful on how you communicate this stuff because that 11th or 12th client finds out they didn't get invited to something, they're gonna be a little upset, right? So like if you know you're doing this event and it's only for your best 10 clients, but then you go and share it with everybody on social media or you blast it out on your website and e-newsletter, just be careful that there could be some issues with that. And I was gonna save this to the end, but you can actually publish your service models and you could say, hey, these best clients get this, the next tier get this, and the lower tier gets this. Then it's a little bit more acceptable to publish those better activities that you're doing, right? Because people will be like, oh, I want to get into that higher group. And I understand it's not their fault that I'm not there. Like, so if it's assets under management for a financial advisor, they just kind of know, like that's why they're not up there. But then if they do get that extra A+ service, we'll talk about names for it in a second, but if they get that A+ service and they're in a lower tier, they're gonna be wowed, right? They're gonna feel like they're extra special. From a marketing and sales standpoint, think about events. What what do they look like? Appreciation should be a definite focus for your top tier clients. So are there appreciation events? What do they look like? Bring a friend events can be an appreciation event. Again, so for a client referral strategy, build out what that looks like. I couldn't tell you how you build out your tiered service model because it all needs to be customized. I would ask a lot of questions if I was consulting and finding out about what it should look like. But start with what you do, right? So map it all out, and then again, if you can track where you spend your time and how that gets allocated to your current client base, it'll be a big eye opener, right? You'll see that some things are out of alignment, and so you got to get them to be aligned. If you do that, you're going to have so much more insight into where you want to head with this. All right, so back to marketing. Let's just say you email everybody a certain newsletter, but you could actually create a one that's more for a premier type of communication that only the best of the best get. You could also forget about kind of the e-newsletter approach. Maybe that is customized and segmented and different things go to different audiences. I think that's a best practice. You should consider that if you have the bandwidth to do that. But another one is personalized video emails. I'm a big believer that these are super powerful. So in a tiered service model, let's just say you want to meet with your best clients 4 times a year. I'm making that up. If you are doing that, don't replace what that frequency of meetings is to meet with your clients, but add to it, and that's how you can have that wow factor. So personalized video emails don't necessarily replace a meeting, but they are actually complementing whatever you originally had for your tiered service. Maybe I'll do a whole segment on personalized video emails, but what they do is allow that person, your client, to feel like they're seeing you, they're getting exposure. Because it's a personalized message, they're feeling like it's customized to them, they're feeling special. You can get reporting to see if they watch it. There's a really good correlation in people, and if they're getting these messages, that they're more likely to be happier clients. So you can see that they open it, and you can see that they open it, and you can see that they clicked on it. The reality is, personalized video emails can make a personal connection better than regular email. So you might have, I just follow up with my clients via email or even text messages or through social media as part of your service model. That can be there too. But the personalized video email just has that wow factor. A lot of people aren't getting them yet, so there's still that kind of like new, shiny, cool object. Marketers will kill it if they haven't already, but I don't think they have. So that could be something that you could just set aside to wow them. From a sales standpoint too, if you are putting a focus in on your top clients, good things are going to come from it. So how can you actually connect the dots of client service and sales? One of the people that got the most client referrals that I've ever seen was a financial advisor that scheduled her top clients at 4 o'clock so that she worked across from a great steakhouse, so she could walk them across and just buy them dinner, buy them appetizers before they went home and had their own dinner, maybe have a cocktail or two. And that, she made more outstanding personal connections with her clients than maybe definitely better than most advisors, right? So if you can have some way to get to have exposure with them from a service standpoint, sales just is that next evolution, right? They go hand in hand when you're interacting with them, because the question of like, hey, how could I help other people like you? Because I just love to do this. I love to help people. Like you're my favorite clients. I wish I could have more people like you. Those types of wording things are not pinning those clients into a corner, making them feel like they have to help you. You're kind of thanking them and you're offering them assistance. And if you have that tiered service model that shows you're going to spend extra time with them, whatever it might be, in that case, that lady took them across the street to a steakhouse, whatever that might be, that allows for that business and sales part of that conversation, right? So some of that money, if you actually are someone that budgets for the year and say, hey, I'm allocating this much money to client service and this much to sales. Some of it should be a shared budget, right? So client service and sales could benefit from that interaction at the steakhouse in that certain case. I want to talk about gifting because if you're trying to make a really great connection with somebody, showing that you care, again, is really important. And if you give them a great gift, it's only going to bring the relationship closer. So from a tiered service model standpoint, you might have something that says on everybody's birthday, they're going to get a birthday card, a handwritten birthday card. So that is all tiers, right? But then the next tier up, they might get something a little bit more special. They might also get a phone call. Then the next tier up, guess what? They get the card, they get the phone call, and they get a gift. Gifts can be really, really, they can backfire and they can make a wonderful connection. If you create a gift for a very wealthy person that is generic and everybody gets it, it might be nice, you know, like a drink thermos or something that they might put coffee in on the way to work or go watch their grandkids play a sport. But you know what? How many things do they really need with your logo on it? I see all throughout the industry that I really work in, that is a common flaw, right? You know, like they get the golf shirt, or they get the towel, or they get kind of like a really cool canvas bag with, you know, the really best clients, they get even better gifts. So they get everything in this beach bag has the logo on it, the towel, the thermos, whatever it might be. Yes, they might be a little excited about what's coming out and what's going to be in that gift bag, but if you can make a personal connection and it's not always just kind of trying to make them your billboard, right? Like that they're going to wear something that says your company logo on it, you're going to be that much better. So I will get into gifts more in a future segment, but the reality is make a personal connection. So we talked about philanthropy a lot. That's one that I love as a good example of a gift. So you could say in your tiered service model, we're going to give a gift and we're going to try to make a philanthropic connection. Or we're going to try to make a connection with their sports team or whatever it might be. And that is really valuable. Tiered service models are wonderful. It's a great planning tool. You don't have to be so rigid that you stick to it every single time. But from a business standpoint, especially if your business is large, you should know where all your resources go. You should know what your people are doing. You know, the one common pitfall I'll say with tiered service models is it's not communicated really well. And so you might have somebody that just loves clients, right? And they're going above and beyond like they should. And so they're doing with every single client the exact same way. And you might have made a business decision that that's not the model that you want to have, right? And so can be a little bit of rub within your own employee base. So make sure your associates know what you're trying to accomplish, why you're trying to accomplish it, and then get them on board so they're not misaligned. The opposite can be true too. Like, so maybe that was an example of somebody over-servicing a person that's not profitable. But what about that client that is super profitable, but they're not getting the best service they should have? So identify all those people, again, with research, and then you'll pick apart what service they're getting and how could you get them to be happier. So a lot of great information on tiered service models. Maybe we'll go into that more in a future episode. Utilizing technology is going to be ultra important with AI, but right now it's still important, even though some of these AI advancements are just rolling out. But the CRM, your contact management system, is a great place to start. And utilizing that, I really haven't worked with a business yet that fully utilizes the CRM to a point that you're just wowed that they're using every bell and feature. You know, some of these things have so many different options and things you can use that they overwhelm the clients. So if you can start to think about what you're doing from a CRM standpoint, set up a routine training with, if that vendor will pay for it, send a person in to train you, etc. They're going to be revolutionized in the next few years. AI is going to advance them in a huge way. I honestly think they were asleep at the switch and other things popped up like note takers and other different things. But CRM, I think, is going to be at the hub of your utilizing technology to provide better client services, or they'll be replaced. But make sure you're actually spending time to know that technology more than you've ever known it. What are the bells and features that you're not taking advantage of? What are the new ones that are coming out? Whatever that vendor will provide from a service standpoint, make sure that you're scheduling that every single quarter, every single month, at least once a year, whatever that looks like. If they have training videos on their website, make sure that whoever's in charge of technology in your firm is staying up to date, because I promise you it's going to change. At a bare minimum, the contact management system, CRM, is going to be used for your contact list, names, addresses, etc. It's just falling down if that's all it's used for. And if you're one of the people that uses Excel and you have contact information with this email vendor and this different technology provider, and it's kind of all over the place, and you're manually entering something for one vendor, and then you got to do it 8 other times, your technology needs to advance, right? You need to look at ways to get that to be more streamlined. We'll talk about operational efficiency in other videos, but with your CRM, next go into like what your workflows are. I love the exercise of identifying what are your most common repetitive things, and then go in and actually do some checklist building. Here's all the things that can happen. As a consultant, I love doing that kind of stuff, but then you are actually start to identify not just the workflow and the checklist, but the timing. How long does this take? What happens if there's different modifications? Do you go back to step 3 if you were at step 5? What does that look like? Oh, and by the way, when you map this all out, which people are plugged in to do certain duties, to have certain communications at all these different points? If you can create a workflow and you use a good CRM, then you can actually implement it. So all this stuff can become automated, right? So you're now not having to think about this stuff. You're starting to think, just from a strategic standpoint, you're not really going into the weeds every single time you have a client interaction. One that's a really good, obvious case study is your onboarding process, because that's when you're being compared to someone else, right? So from a prospect standpoint, you can actually have workflows for prospects too, but for client service, let's stick with when they become a client. What does that first interaction look like? What's the next one? Is it a month later? Is it a day later? How do you follow up with all the information that's coming in and being processed? How do you let them know that they're doing their job, how do you let them know that they're not doing their job, they're not providing what you need without upsetting them? Like, all that stuff can be worked out. Now imagine kind of like a tree going sideways, creating that kind of like a Gantt chart, and this step A needs to be completed before C, D, and F get even start, right? And so if there's a bottleneck here and that person's causing it, that can be a real issue. So CRM can allow you to have some really cool reporting. So you can actually get that advanced from an owner or management standpoint, that you're now starting to see, are we delivering on all the services that we have in that tiered service model? Are all the people living up to their responsibilities? Can you track that someone's falling behind? Why are they falling behind? Do they need training? Do they need additional resources to help get their, maybe they're overloaded and they're doing the job of 2 people. Maybe there's a vacation, whatever it might be. Use the CRM to really actively plan to deliver exceptional client service. How do you use that reporting? I'm a big believer in if exceptional client service is part of your core competency, part of your core values, part of your mission, part of your tagline, whatever it might be, you can't just fake it, right? So if that's part of your business plan, what are those KPIs, key performance indicators, that you're tracking? So again, client research ties into this, but you should bubble it into the compensation of all the people that are client facing, and maybe even the people that are supportive behind the scenes. What do they have to deliver on to get an exceptional performance review that would allow them to get the best bonus they could get? And maybe, let's just say roughly, their performance review would say, a third is new business, a third is client service, and a third is just doing the day-to-day job, whatever it might be, however you break it down. Allocate that third to their compensation and track it, right? And then you can actually track it for the overall organization. So a component of the firm's success actually goes into their compensation too. So everybody is on the same page of knowing that client service isn't something that you just talk about, but it's actually something that is the backbone of your organization, and you're going to deliver on this, and it's one of the #1 priorities, if not #1. What are those metrics of success? How do you track it? So in the research that you do with your clients, you should have that standard question on a scale 1 to 10, how are we doing, right? And there's better wording for that, but you might actually want to get specific with the person's name. And so if they have a one-on-one contact or if they work with a team, ask specifically about the team and have an open-ended piece that allows you to track something that you might not have thought about in your survey. Then you get all this information, start to think about how do you bubble it all up. There are sometimes where you can take someone's name off of something negative and say, hey, here's a case study of something we don't want to do. But if you get some really great feedback about somebody that really hit the ball out of the park from a client service standpoint, make sure that it's on record. And you actually may have a company type of communication, whether it's an email that goes to everybody or you have a company meeting or whatever. Call that out as a great example. Reinforce that great behavior within your own organization. And then, wow, like you're going to create that culture within. It's going to start to spread and it's going to get contagious. And that's the kind of stuff that you're going to, you're just not going to fake it, right? So people will start to trust that this is something that's just not words on paper, but something that you're really all about. You might want to also think about how you can empower your associates to wow your clients. I love the Ritz as an example here. I don't know what the dollar amount is anymore, but like imagine that junior person that is at the front desk and some client, which is a person staying at the hotel, comes up and says, oh man, that towel was awful, or you didn't give me enough shampoos. And that person is empowered to fix the problem, no matter what it is, up to $1,000. Right? That's kind of the Ritz model. I don't know what the number is now, but how can you empower your people to fix problems? And then, do they have a channel to bubble up feedback that they get so that at a bigger organization that you're actually hearing some of this feedback? When managers or owners are disconnected from the front lines, that's when bad things happen. So make sure you foster an environment where they feel comfortable sharing feedback. You can have a suggestion box. I don't know if those really get used, but if you can have some kind of contest sometimes for good ideas that come from clients, and you pick one out of a hat, or you just you reward the best one that comes in, that can be really, really valuable. I'll end with this. If you don't have your clients, you're probably not in business. So when you wake up every day, think about how can I do a better job with my clients? You can't go wrong there, right? If you have a focus on clients, consulting lingo, if you're client-centric, right, you can't go wrong. So I hope that this has been helpful information. I am Mike Byrnes, and I cannot wait to do another video, and I look forward to doing more and more with Business Bests. Thanks a lot.